We are supposedly going live. We are supposedly live. Let me pull my link up here. Look at that. I can see us on YouTube. Let me jump over here back to StreamYard. Pop this link
I can
in.
see us. I can see us too. And yeah, there is quite a delay.
All right, we'll pop that up there. Pinned comment. See if I can see my chat. All right, I think we are good.
We're ready.
Hello, Linda.
Hello, Jay.
How are you, my dear?
I'm doing well. Yep.
So let's see the
rough holiday.
The last time you and I talked, we were on Cajun Roots Resellers reseller shop hop. That was December 27th, and I got to say, we interviewed you, and the feedback was crazy about how much they enjoyed you and I talking, how we got along. They didn't realize that you were just completely blitzed and have no memory whatsoever of that interview, which is a real shame. I hope you watched the playback to try to get some memory of what happened that day.
Oh, I hate to watch myself. Ugh.
So we had planned all along for Misti Media as a publishing house to have an interview show. It was something I've wanted to do from the beginning, and then we got so much positive feedback about you and I that it just kind of made sense to say, hey, let's do this for real. Let's make this show happen. I have no idea why that is stuck up on. Oh, because it starred. All right, I'm still playing with these things and learning them. But yeah, so we've decided to go ahead and set this up. We're looking at doing shows now on the first and third Tuesday of every month in this time slot, the 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. That lets us get lots of folks in and hopefully see lots of people. And let me go to my comments there. Perfect. To let folks know, the books we're going to discuss today, if you look down, if you look in the chat, and also if you look down in the show notes, you'll see that there's a jot form there. That jot form is to buy either of our two discussed books tonight at a special paperback price, $10 each with free worldwide shipping. That's way lower than we offer it at any retailer or on our website. This channel is not monetized in any way. So by you folks helping to buy books from us, that helps us to fund projects like this and to be able to do even more with our small press. So that jot form will take you right to Adam's titles. In addition, down in the show notes below is also a link to Linda's author page where you'll see all the books that she's in until we cut her contracts, which, could happen at any time. Just one wrong word out of you, woman, during an interview, just one, and those contracts are toast. Okay, I mean, no pressure, but
there's nothing.
The police told me what you got up to over New Year's, and you're just lucky enough to be here.
There's nothing you can threaten me with because I worked in radio for 30 years, and I taught first-year students at the university. I taught English Comp and Core Humanities, required courses. I can deal with anybody.
Well, I worked retail for 40 years. Speaking of which, speaking of retail, did you ever have to work restaurant?
Yeah.
What did you do in your restaurant career?
Well, I did kitchen food prep at an actual restaurant, and then I've worked the register at so many fast food places. So yeah,
my first job was one of my first jobs was at a Burger King. But one of the best jobs I had in high school was at this restaurant in Melbourne, Florida called O'Charlie's. It was a chain restaurant, I think out of Tennessee. But it wasn't until years later that I saw a movie called Waiting. Have you ever seen the movie Waiting?
think so. That doesn't sound familiar.
Waiting is this absolutely hysterical film about what goes on behind the scenes at a restaurant. It has Ryan Reynolds in it in like a very early role. Actually, if you look at the whole cast is like filled with tons of people you know. But if you ever worked restaurant, I swear that movie is like 100% accurate. It's frightening. And the reason why I bring this up is because our special guest today had a hand in the film. He he is the madman of the music behind that film. And not he is I don't know that there are enough hyphens for this hyphenate. I mean, he's an author, hyphen film music, hyphen TV music, hyphen, I don't know.
Hyphen a nonprofit organization to make sure songwriters get their money and their respect from streaming music.
And that's hard to fit on a business card.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you're going to like the second side, right? Like it's that thing of like, oh, I got down to the right corner. Where does the rest of his title go? Oh, it's here on the backside.
Yeah.
Well, I think
kind of a little fortune card.
Folding. There you go. There's the solution. Well, I think we should go ahead and bring him on so we can, find out more about him and torture him a little, because it just wouldn't be a fun Tuesday night without torturing somebody.
Yeah. So you were trying to torture me last time, and I think I turned the tables on you a couple times.
Hey, it's only fair. All right, folks, without further ado, I would like to introduce everybody to multi-hyphenate creative talent, genius, visionary, and fortunately for me, one of my authors, Mr. Adam Gorgoni. There he is. There's Adam.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Adam. How are you?
Yep.
I'm great. You guys are cracking me up already.
He looks so suave, doesn't he, in his studio?
And he hasn't even turned on the speakers, so it's just watching us that's cracking him up.
Yes.
Well, I mean, my face has had that reputation of just making people, break out in hilarity, but I was hoping he wouldn't cop to it. I, could have played it down a little being the guest on the show.
No, well,
how are you, Sir Adam?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. You are correct that everyone who's ever worked in a restaurant and has seen the movie Waiting says exactly what you said, which is that's how it is, including people doing nasty things to food, to customers who are rude. So don't be rude to your waiters out there, your servers.
Yeah,
never.
But
never.
It is a really funny movie, and it's it's sort of a precursor to all of those, was 40-Year-Old Virgin and that whole wave of comedies that happened kind of after it. It was kind of a precursor to that, with a lot of like you say, a lot of the same actors.
And it's I think it's really achieved cult classic status. Because I know it wasn't that big of a hit when it first came out, but
it did decent, but it wasn't. It wasn't huge.
But now it's like truly one of those, like it's up there with like Office Space for a lot of people, for that authenticity of what happens, behind the scenes. So you just came back from New York City, correct? Or upstate New York, or what part of New York?
No, Manhattan, which is where I'm from originally. So we were there for a couple of weeks. My wife, both of our families are there. Our daughter is there. So we've been going back and forth kind of, every few months, to visit, and we have friends, and, it was nice. It was, we had a little bit of a white Christmas vibe for a number of days, some really nice snow, and it was freezing. Is it true there's no place like New York City for the holidays? there's something about it, walking the streets with the pine tree. All the Christmas trees are on the street. They sell them on the street, and the smell of the pine and the everybody's kind of walking around and they're bundled up in their scarves and shopping, and everybody's walking around with shopping bags and presents, and it really is a great vibe.
So you were born and raised in Manhattan?
Yep, Upper West Side, and it's changed a lot, as have many places. It's lost a little bit of its soul, I would say. It's sort of like going to the mall, where it used to be all mostly mom and pops. But that's true pretty much anywhere you go now, right?
Yeah.
But it's a great place, and there's still a lot of creative people and good people, and New Yorkers are good people. The cliche of New Yorkers being nasty is not true at all. Anytime you need something in New York, people will help you out.
I had the opportunity a couple times to go attend the big book convention in June out at the Javits Center, and stay in the city. And yeah, I agree with you. My experience was that everybody was really cool. Reminded me a lot of living in San Francisco, where it was like nobody bothers you. They let you have your life and live your life, and everybody's kind of free to come and do as they please. But the first time somebody messes with you, you've got the entire block there to back you up.
Yeah. It's a soulful place. Be interesting to see, not that we're going to talk about politics here. It'll be interesting to see that we have the new socialist mayor now, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the city. A lot of people are, there's strong opinions one way or the other, but I'm hoping he's successful.
Well, he's going into it with the right attitude. He's just ready to. He campaigned on his ideas, got voted in. That's his mandate. He's going for it.
He's also a really young guy, which is kind of cool. It's nice to see some of the old guard, get replaced by people who will be around tomorrow. With a vision for the future for people of their own age group and how it affects them.
Since we screwed it up for them, maybe they can.
Hey, I was in Florida. They screwed that up. I take no ownership of that. So were you interested in music from an early age?
Yeah, really, my father was a studio musician, a session musician in the 60s and 70s, and actually late 50s too. And he played, so I mean, there was music in the house all the time. My brother and I would go to.
Who did he play for? Did he play for?
He played,
yes.
Names, I mean, he played on a lot of huge records. He played on Brown Eyed Girl, the he played that. And he played on The Sounds of Silence, and he played on all the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons records, and a lot of the Monkees and Neil Diamond. And he was one of the guys at that time in New York when there was a thriving studio scene. This is way before computers, when the only way you could make music was people had to first learn how to play and be in a room together, and a lot of times figure out the parts. Sometimes they'd come in, like on Brown Eyed Girl. He tells the story that they didn't have an intro to the song, so somebody said we need an intro, and he thought it had a kind of a calypso vibe, so he just started playing that thing, and that became this signature thing. And so there was a lot of spontaneous creativity that went into music making at that time. In the studios.
Did you end up enrolling in? Did you go to school for music? How did your music journey evolve?
I studied, and my dad started teaching me. I wanted to learn how to play guitar, and my dad started teaching me classical initially, because that was really his first love, was classical guitar. And like I said, music was around. I would go and hang out in the studio and watch him work, and watch all the. These people are geniuses, studio musicians. really the finest musicians. They can, when the orchestra comes in, they read orchestra music for the first time and basically nail it almost always, and then you make little tweaks and stuff, but they're that good that they can sight read complicated music and do it, when you're on a budget, and it's really quite spectacular. But so I hung out a lot and learned by osmosis the way people made music at that time. And I studied a lot on my own. I studied privately. I didn't go to conservatory or anything like that, but I studied a lot in my spare time and developed, my skills that way. And I, interestingly, perhaps for this interview, at some point I decided I'm a good player, but I'm never going to be a great player. I'm good. I'm a professional, but my skills are better served in writing. I have, and there are musicians who are both great writers and great players, but not all the best players can write well. It's an interesting thing, and there's writers who can write incredibly well, but not necessarily play it. So I sort of decided that was my path to doing it professionally would be better served by writing. And so that's what I tried to do. I started, my dad helped me. He, when I was just out of college, he was doing a lot of commercials at that point, and I sort of apprenticed with him for a little while, but I didn't love doing commercials, although it's a great training ground for skill building because everyone does them.
That's where Barry Manilow got his start, actually. Was
absolutely.
Writing jingles, and look what happened to him.
Yeah, he did okay. Yeah, so but at some point what I really wanted to do was film and TV, and I decided to move to LA because that's really where the lion's share of the business is, or was.
Yeah. So what would you count as your first big break in film and television?
That's an interesting one. I would say the first big break, I would say, I got a network TV show, which was called Happy Family. It was John Larroquette and Christine Baranski was in it, and I can't remember. It was an NBC sitcom, and that was it was a really good opportunity. And once you can break into that network thing, it's the budgets are bigger, and this is before streaming, really, before any of the streaming. But that and the show lasted a year. It didn't get picked up. If you go through my my resume, you'll see I probably scored 10 network shows, most of which didn't survive, lasted a year, and then they went away.
So what you're saying is hiring you is a curse.
Yeah. When if you need good music,
we see
someone
Adam's
else.
name is on this.
Yeah.
We know where this is going. This show's going.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of amazing. The difference between shows that don't make it, and if you get a show just as a composer, right? If you did Seinfeld, right, the biggest show in history, right, but the music, right, literally kind of anybody could do that,
right?
But if you did that, and actually it did work, it had great personality for that show, so it was effective. But the point is just that if you have that show, that's like an annuity for life. That's just literally the home run of the century. So it's a very strange business, I don't think the shows that I did, I don't think it was the bad music that made them not pick them up.
No.
So, you know, it's a crapshoot, just like in, you know, the book business, right?
Book publishing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was harder, breaking into television music or breaking into film music?
I would say at that time it was harder to break into TV because there were independent films, you know, where the budgets were small. And so the biggest composers wouldn't necessarily want to do those unless they really loved the film. They would just, you know, they'd be doing bigger jobs. So there was more room for people to come up through independent films. And then, you know, hopefully, you know, grow your portfolio, so to speak. And at that time in TV, this is even, I mean, I'm old, I hate to say. And, you know, anybody who saw.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at that time, this is even before like Discovery Channel and all the sort of TV, you know, sort of disposable TV, I would almost call it in some ways.
Right. And well before the DVR, the VHS and the beta and all the recording and.
Well, I'm not that old, but
I am.
But yeah, but there weren't as many opportunities in TV at that time. There was network and cable, but there wasn't the amount of cable and smaller cable shows where they weren't using big orchestras or anything. You know, it was smaller shows that composers could do. So for me, it was easier to get into film, you know, at the time.
How is the landscape changed now that, you know, in the digital age where so much can be done remotely? You know, unfortunately, there's the increase of AI in music creation. What is your journey looking like now in terms of music?
I mean, it's changed dramatically over the years, and it's going to undergo another possible revolution with AI. There are apps now that, you know, you could write a song, and if you can write the lyrics and play it into an app, it will spit back and tell it, this is my song. I want you to make me a demo that sounds like The Police, and I want you to make me a demo that sounds like Pearl Jam, and I want you know, and or just say alternative rock version and a reggae version, and it will do it, and it sounds pretty good. Like, it doesn't sound as good as the absolute real thing, but there's all kinds of ways in which it's going to, in one way, it lowers the bar for making something that sounds decent. But in another way, I'm not sure it's going to, I think it's going to diminish the amount of really good stuff that happens. That's funny.
Yep. Kay. Good. Yeah. Good one, Kay.
Yeah, it can't do what humans can do yet, and it may never be able to, but I think it will homogenize and reduce the amount of expertise and craft that exists in the world.
Is it hurting? Is it interfering with your ability to be able to obtain work, or are you still able to work at the same pace that you were previously?
Yeah, I'm not working at the same pace as I have in the past, honestly. Like, there's more competition than ever. There's, and people who are really good. There's a lot of scoring programs at different, universities have them. USC has this amazing program where people learn, when I was that age, it didn't exist, and so people come out, 22 years old with a lot of skills and knowledge.
And you can see that a lot of people follow the music, because when I was much younger, music for the movies, it was there and it helped the movie and all that. But like, I went on YouTube today to see, here's some of your music, and there's just page after page of people posting little chunks of your scoring from their favorite movies.
And
what's funny though, Linda, is because I think, Linda, you and I are slightly separated by a generation. Like, I think there's like I think we just missed each other. But I know that in the 80s, like, soundtracks were everything. Like, if you look at Billboard Top 100 for pretty much any year in the 80s, particularly in the top 20, it's dominated by songs from soundtracks. I mean, look at how many things came off of the Purple Rain soundtrack or the Footloose soundtrack, and they're memorable songs that are still around. That, for whatever he did in his personal life, everybody remembers the Cosby Show theme. There's everybody knows Cheers. Everybody knows these tracks that were recorded during that period that have just sort of lived on forever. And for me, the whole thing about the movie soundtrack is just that I used to collect them, because it would, a well done soundtrack would take you through the movie. So you could actually listen to the soundtrack and actually kind of watch the movie in your head, because, they were usually put together in the order in which, the songs happen. And it was really good at taking you through. And I don't think there's as much of that anymore. It's very, every year when I see the nominees for best original song, I'm like, if you put a gun in my head, I couldn't tell you what these songs sound like. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. You mentioned theme songs, like TV theme songs. That art form, they're amazing stuff. I mean, from even before when I was a kid, but all of those, I mean, you can just Green Acres, and the Gilligan's Island.
Mike Post, and a bunch of others.
Mike Post, things, there's really, it's
Hans Zimmer.
Well, the art form of that, but at that time they wanted a 30-second or a minute long opening song. They don't do that anymore. If you watch, pick your favorite streaming show, maybe there's like a 15-second opening music, and usually sometimes they'll license a song, but mostly it's not. They don't have the space for it anymore. They don't have the whole production. They don't make space for it anymore. And so that's
run the credits across the bottom.
Right.
Yeah,
I got a lost art form.
I got into a discussion with somebody about theme songs for Netflix shows, and the only two anybody, like, I talked to like 4 different groups of people, and the only 2 that people could actually name were Stranger Things and Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. That was it. Like, nobody else could name a Netflix theme song, and I worry that that's an art form that's going, much like a lot of genres of writing, is going to get sort of silent. But I do want to shift over to the writing aspect, because
for sure.
How did you make the jump, and is it really that much of a jump from writing music to bumping people off? And tell the truth, how many music executives have been victims in your stories?
Oh boy. That one, it would take me a long time to finish all the stories. I would need to concoct all the deaths that would need to happen. But it's different and it's not different. One thing that I love music and I love scoring, and I've always, it's my God, it's my soul, but when you're scoring anything, you're serving, the story has been decided. You are, it's a work for hire situation. You are trying to bring to life someone else's ideas and project, and it's a beautiful thing when you can make the chemistry happen and you can bring it to life in a way that it wasn't alive before. It's a magical thing when it happens. When you play a director your cue and they say, oh my God, finally it's what I wanted it to be, and you made that happen. But it's their story, and if they don't like what you did, you have to scrap it and do something else. And I've always wanted to had the storytelling bug, where I can control what happens, and I know, and the themes are something that I want to write about or be creative about. And so I used to write fiction when I was a lot younger, and then life intervened, and I got busy and had been working for a long time. But I started to get that bug again to be the decider, to quote George W. Bush. And so I just started writing again. I started a novel, and when I got busy, I'd put it aside. And then when I had time, I'd go back. And then during COVID, like with everybody, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I really kind of dug in to writing. And I've always been a crime fiction head. From the time that I remember discovering a Nero Wolfe paperback at a flea market. And that, from then on, I just have always loved it. And so that's where I wanted to, ply my trade, so to speak. And it's been a lot of fun. And then as I worked on the novel, I thought, you know what, let me try writing some short stories, and discovered you. I think I joined the Short Mystery Fiction Society message board, and you had put out the call for one-hit wonders.
Yep.
And I said, you know what? First of all, my wife wrote the song Bitch, co-wrote the song Bitch, which was by Meredith Brooks, and that was her biggest hit. So we kind of think of it as a one-hit wonder.
Yep.
And I thought, well, let me just try a story about, of bitch, although it had nothing to do really with the song, except there is a bitch in the song, in the story. And I enjoy writing short stories too. It's, it's a different discipline. I'm sure, Linda, you would agree. It's a different discipline than long form. You really have to be judicious and succinct with what you're doing, but you still want it to be alive and full of
and
energy
have your
and
character
detail,
arc,
all of that stuff. But
see, that's something you and Linda both definitely share, in that Linda's not new to writing, but I would say, Linda, you're still sort of fairly new to short story writing, right?
To getting them published. I mean, I used to write short stories when I was a teenager, and a lot of short stories, and then I just stopped for many years because I was working at a newspaper as a reporter and was writing 13, 20 articles a week, and didn't do any fiction writing. And then I got back into it when I was working on a nonprofit thing. There was a writers group / literary foundation in Fresno, California, and we went into the schools and worked with kids who were like 5th and 6th graders, 4th, 5th, 6th graders, and helped them write their stories. And I was amazed at how good they were. And I thought, I'm embarrassed that I'm not writing now. And so I got back into it. And then in 2019, I'd been teaching at the English comp at the university, UNR, and I thought, I've stopped writing again. And then I started getting short stories published.
So yeah, the first that call, which by the way, for anybody who out there who is writing in crime or writing in thrillers or anything like that, I do definitely recommend the Short Mystery Fiction Society. They are up on groups.io. They are a fantastic free group to be a member of. But if you're trying to find out anything about writing in those particular genres, it's a great networking tool, great place to meet other authors, publishers, calls for
a lot of good knowledge.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff to share through there. But when we started Misti Media, there was the project of One Hit Wonder was actually a carryover from my previous publishing house, which we will not name. And it never came to fruition. And so the plan was always to make that one of the first anthologies that I published. And it actually was the first one that came out under the White City Press imprint. And so that one's called I Just Died in Your Arms, which hopefully a lot of people know that
Just
song.
died in your arms tonight.
Sing it, baby.
Baby, let's go.
But it's it was like the perfect title for an anthology of crime one-hit wonders. But Adam, I still so vividly remember getting your submission because it was one of the early ones I got for the anthology, and you had just nailed it. And I mean, just absolutely nailed the brief. And I just remember reading that story and thinking, somebody got it. Somebody understood what I was trying to accomplish with this anthology, that it wasn't a word for word interpretation of the song.
Right.
It was, truly inspired by, but there was enough there that you knew exactly what was inspiring it. And so I just remember being really, really impressed by you and your writing skills. And, at that point I had no idea that you hadn't been, published a billion times over as a short story author, which was really cool. And then you came back to us again with our Barry Manilow anthology, A Killing at the Copa. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with your song and story for that one.
Well, I mean, personally, for me, there is one Barry Manilow song that stands above all the others, and that is Mandy. So there was no question in my mind as to which song I would try to evoke. And I have to give you a compliment, Jay, because my original version of the story I liked it, and it was good, but it was a little dark, and it didn't perhaps capture, it's tricky with these, right, Linda? It's tricky when you're trying to write to a brief like this, where it's a song, you want to sort of make sly nods to the content of the song, but you're obviously not going to, it's your own story. And so you want to incorporate in
kind of the
clever,
feeling, the mood,
right, and clever ways. And you suggested that I could perhaps do that a little better, Jay, with my story. And when I went back, little things like the lyric in the song, when you kiss me and stop me from shaking, so that I was like, oh, that line I can work into my crime story. So the guy, I think I said, and she kissed me and the shaking stopped, was the way I did it, so there, it was a fun challenge to go back and see if I could put in a way that didn't feel wrong, a few more, like either kind of like Easter eggs, and so it was a blast. It was a blast to do that.
Do you find that it was easier at all to write a story based on a song because of your background in music, or do you feel like the two things were definitely separate?
I think they're probably separate.
Although when it comes to editing, you mentioned about how you went back and tweaked Mandy. Is that a similar experience to what you would experience with, say, a director or somebody in the studio when you're working on music?
Absolutely, because when you're scoring, as I said before, you don't call the shots. You get hired for your expertise in how music works with film, with pictures, and with story and emotion and all of those things. But like I said, you can write something that you think is the greatest thing that ever happened and is perfect, and the director comes in and will say, it's good, but try something a little more yellow, and and okay, and that can happen sometimes with certain scenes that are difficult. You have to wipe the slate clean 4 or 5 times even, and start afresh and try to clear your mind and look at it again. And so you are constantly editing, rewriting, tweaking, making changes until the director is, happy. And so, for me, taking direction and taking editing of any kind of work I do is easy. And I have the thickest skin in the history of human skin at this point. I feel like
I called you a blundering asshole to your face, and you were totally fine with it.
Yeah, it's fine with me. It's fine with me. I also can say quickly that usually if the director thinks you can do better, most of the time, in my experience, they ended up being right about it, because they are. Obviously, they know what they want, and also they are in tune with what the overall project is trying to do. And I think that they're right. And I think that editors in fiction, there's a reason.
I was going to say
there are editors
there.
There are reasons there are editors. There's a job called editor, because as a writer of fiction, it's really great to have an objective view who is also supportive and trying to bring you to your best work. You don't always have to agree, but my experience has always been to listen to critiques, and don't get your back up, and see why someone is saying what they're saying, and see if there's a part of it that makes sense to you, and then work with that. And then if it doesn't work, then you can say, like, look, it doesn't, I don't agree. But it's
and also when somebody comes to you and says, this doesn't work, I think you should go this way. Sometimes what I've done is I take a step back and I say, okay, I want to go that way, but I'm not saying it right. And so I will say it a different way, and then the person that said it has to go that way, they'll say, oh, now I see where you're going, it's good.
Right.
And I imagine that that's something that can happen there with the music, where you can catch that spirit that the director is looking for and doesn't quite, not being a musician, doesn't quite hear in his head or her head.
There's usually often a reason, a good reason.
So I do want to jump in real quick. We've got CWS that says, would love to read Adam's stories. You're in luck. There is a job form that is in the comment section. It's also down below in the description, which allows you to pick up the paperback for only $10 each, which includes free worldwide shipping. That's right. Anywhere in the world, we will ship that book to you completely free.
It is all great stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stories in there. They're good anthologies. You won't be disappointed.
They're also available at any of your favorite retailers. They're also available in ebook format from our own website or from lots of others. We highly recommend drivethroughfiction.com. They are the last independent ebook store on the internet, and they support us and other small presses tremendously. So we do everything we can to support them back. A reminder to everyone, this channel is not monetized. So we very greatly appreciate your support by picking up the paperbacks from the authors that we discuss.
And subscribe. Subscribe to the
Yes.
channel.
Yes,
please
please.
subscribe to our channel. Be sure to leave comments. And if you guys do have any questions for Adam, I'd love to open the floor up to anybody.
Sure.
And we do have another question for you, Adam. Do you have a novel?
I do have a novel, and I am intending it's going to get out there in the next, what are we in January? I know it can take a long time, but one come hell or high water this year, it's going to be on the way. I'm excited about it. I think it's good. It's crime fiction. It's set in not the anti-Malibu Oxnard, California. And it's a good time. So that will be happening, and it will be out there.
I know that Adam is in discussions with publishers.
I am,
and we're going to support him any way we can to find the best avenue for him and his novel.
Yeah, I also wanted to say before the question came in, support Jay and Misti Media. Buy these books, buy other books from them, because Jay, the publishing industry is not growing, and it's certainly not getting less homogenized with all the mergers and everything. And there are small publishers falling by the wayside. There's Down and Out Books, for example, which is a longtime crime fiction, small independent publisher, which had to close its doors. And Jay has stepped up and picked up some of the authors and books from Down and Out and others. And so he's fighting the good fight and it's not easy to be a smaller publisher at this, point in the world. And so I think, it's like you put your money where your mouth is. If you want independent thinkers to survive, buy some of their stuff,
And the small presses are where you get real writing that's focused on telling stories and getting ideas out there, as opposed to a lot of the large conglomerates who don't care what the writing is. Do you have a platform?
Right.
Are you an influencer? Are you famous? And the writing, we can get it. We can get a ghostwriter to do that. We don't care. We can do it on AI. We don't care. But this sort of stuff is real writing. Hey, cool. Thank you.
Oh, look, we sold it. All right.
I appreciate that. I really
sold
do.
2 books.
I appreciate
that.
And Adam, I really appreciate the kind words. I mean, when I realized I was starting over from scratch after 13 years of running another publishing house, I wasn't sure if I could do it, but I had people like Sandra Murphy and Marilyn Todd and Kay George and these folks who I'd worked with for a decade previously, who were like, look, you still have a vision of you've always been author centric and really putting the authors first before anything else. That story is not done. There's still more. If you want to, there's still a place for you in publishing. So it's
and
a lot.
You do things like Jay. You also do anthologies where you donate all the proceeds to worthy causes. You're one of the good guys. So where's that? The Perp War Pumpkin. Yeah,
I appreciate that. We're actually launching this year an all new imprint that is all charity. So anything that we publish, every single item that we publish underneath the new imprint this year will all go to that. And we're also launching a merch line here where a portion of the proceeds are going to go to an emergency fund for Misti Media authors, so that if our authors come across hard times, or they have a disaster in their family or something, there's a fund there that we can, I was really inspired during COVID when there were so many artists from Broadway and Broadway Cares and things like that were doing that. I thought that would be a really good way to give back to my authors, would be to set up a fund. So there's I've been busy creating merch over the last 2 weeks, and we'll be launching that very shortly.
That's excited.
On
I'm in.
all three
I'll
of our
buy some.
websites. So it's exciting. So Adam, tell us what you're working on now. Tell us what's coming up. Tell us what you're active in. What's your current passion? Tell us about the here and now.
Well, I am currently working on 2 musicals, which is like yet another hyphen hat in a way, because it's different than really any other kind of music I've done. The music, it's even more integrated into the storytelling in a musical than it is when you're scoring. Like when you're scoring, the story's done, you're enhancing it. In a musical, the songs have to tell the story, and they have to move the characters from one place in the beginning to a new place after, when the song is done, so that the next thing happens in the story. So for example, we've my wife and I are working on them together, actually, which is a whole nother conversation. But we're getting along. It's good. We're still together.
And nobody's died yet, so that's a good thing.
There haven't been any deaths that I know about. Writing. Oh, interesting. I will just finish what I'm saying. You can have a song that's really great as a song, and it's relevant to the story and the show, and the audience will even enjoy it and clap afterwards. But you can sense that they're waiting. They're like waiting for the story to continue,
right? And
you can't have that. There's no extra real estate for stuff that doesn't serve a purpose, so it's
doesn't move the story.
It's a very interesting art form. It might be the hardest art form that I've ever tried to be involved in, but we're working on 2 shows. One of them is about a new mother who is a Jewish mother who thought she was having a girl and has a boy and isn't sure if she wants to circumcise him. And it's called Snipped.
Nice.
And
nice.
Needless to say, there's a lot of humor.
But it's about cutting edge humor.
There's a lot of we were calling it a non-cutting edge musical. That was our, but anyway, there's a lot of penis material, as you might expect. But there's also a lot of deeper issues, right? There's, tradition and her family obviously all want her to do it. And they're like, what are you talking about? This is what we do. And she says, why? And nobody has a good answer, except that it's important to them, So
right. It says it in this book. It says that
that's what we do, And she says, well, the people get stoned to death in the book, and there's slaves in the book, and there's all these other things, like why this thing, which is kind of barbaric in a certain way. Anyway, so we're working on that, and we're working on another show that's totally separate, but it's a fun and different musical hat to wear. And I don't know about you, to me, musicals are either sublime or not.
Yeah, not usually. You're doing a bit of charity work as well, correct?
I think it's not really charity work; it's advocacy work. A group of us who were working before digital kind of scrambled the eggs of the music business in a way where there was no for a while there was no revenue, and then streaming came, and it actually the music business has survived and has grown. The pie has actually grown, but songwriters, for various reasons that are too complicated to go into here, but basically got screwed because we're regulated by the government in ways that that artists and record companies aren't. And therefore, when you were successful and had a successful hit song, the money that you used to get didn't materialize anymore. So we started to educate ourselves and got in the room, to quote Hamilton, in the room where it happens. We've been to DC a number of times. It's a group called SONA, Songwriters of North America. I think the website is wearesona.com for anyone who's interested. And
is it .com or .org?
Oh, it might be I don't know.
I just looked at it today. But...
We are Sona something. And then they're going to kill me for not knowing. But it's a really good organization, and it's there's no union for music writers. This is the closest thing that we have, and we've been around for 10 years now. I mean, it started out with 8 people at our dining room table, and now we have hundreds and hundreds of members, and we're able to hire a lobbyist in DC, and so we're fighting.
You were instrumental in getting some legislation passed.
Yes,
to help out the
that's
artists.
true. The Music Modernization Act, which passed in 2018, we were a big part of getting that passed. And there's more work to do, but it's like whack-a-mole. It's the publishing industry is the same way, right? Things keep changing, and people keep figuring out different ways to not pay you.
Yes,
and
correct.
And so it goes.
By the way, it is wearesona.com, and I've dropped the link in the chat there for anybody to go and check it out. We've got a question for you. As a fellow musician author, I'm often asked how I divide my time between performing and writing. What's your strategy?
Interesting. I don't perform really. That's not been something, like I think I had said earlier. I sort of decided that I was a better writer than I was a performer. So I don't really have that dichotomy. But I will say that you have to make time if you're busy, if you're on the road or something, and it's. But I have a friend who wrote a book when he was on the road with Tears for Fears, in his hotel room after, or when they had a day off or whatever. So, you just have to make time to do the writing when you can. Scoring is a little different, because a lot of times if you're on a scoring project, there is no time to do anything else. There's no time to sleep, even, because the deadlines can be very severe, especially in television. Well, previous to streaming, when television, it was like Thursday night, the show comes on every Thursday night. So you don't get the show until, Sunday, and you've got 3 days to do the music, so they can mix it on Wednesday, or you can send it to them on Wednesday. They'll give you the changes they want on Wednesday, and you have to turn it around so they can get it mixed on Thursday, so it gets on the air, that kind of thing. So you can't really, there's not time to do anything. But when your schedule's lighter, then, you make time to write. You have to make time for it somehow.
Well, Adam, I can't thank you enough for being our first guest here, for kicking off our new Misti Media interview series. Absolute pleasure.
This was great.
Sandy says, I see a guitar. Could we hear a few notes?
I don't know, Sandy.
Trust the editor to get to the to the bottom of things.
That one's out of tune. This one is good. What do you want?
You play for us something of your own.
I don't know what to play. Oh, pirates, yes, they rob I. So land of the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hands were made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We fought in this generation triumphantly. How about that? Little Bob
That's
Marley.
awesome.
Little Bob
That's
Marley.
awesome.
The best, the best.
Adam, I love you, man. I'm looking
All
forward
right.
to working with you more in the future. It's been such a pleasure having you join the Misti Media family.
I love it.
And thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna kick you backstage real quick so I can
Okay.
finish up with Linda. But really, such a pleasure having you here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
All right, Linda and I will see you backstage in just a moment.
Okay.
All right, Miss Linda.
Yes.
Talented guy, right?
Oh.
Talented guy, right? I'm a little envious. I wish I had a finger of that talent.
Yeah. Yeah. When I got the books out to read his stories, to refresh my memory, because I thought, I don't remember what his stories were in those. Opened up the books and he wrote these, which are like two of my favorites out of those books.
Well, I'm looking
It's
forward to
very
doing
great.
I'm looking forward to doing more of these interviews with you, Linda. I really appreciate everybody tuning in and joining us. Thank you to everybody that commented in the chat and was part of the show.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
Huge thanks, of course, to Adam for being our guest here on the first show. It's always good to find a willing victim that's willing to step up and be the first one shot out of the cannon. Hopefully, it'll make it easy for other people to also get shot out of the cannon.
They did it with a smile.
We will be doing shows the first and third Tuesdays of every month moving forward. That means we've got a show coming up on the 20th. We'll be announcing our guest very, very shortly on our Facebook pages. So be on the lookout for that. We'll also record a quick short to let everybody know and set up the thumbnail. If you've not yet subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe and ring the bell. Once again, we are not a monetized channel. Any monies we get are from you folks supporting us by buying our books and supporting our authors. And most importantly for me, it's about supporting the authors. And again, the jot form is there in the comments as well as down below in the description. If you're like to pick up these two titles at the special discounted rate of $10 for the paperback with free worldwide shipping, feel free to take advantage. The jot form link will continue on even during the replay. So if you come back, if you're watching this 2 weeks from when we recorded it, those offers will still be available to you. So on behalf of Linda and Zeke the marketing dog, thank you all very, very much. And
Callie the ham.
And Callie the ham, absolutely. We very much appreciate all of you. Take care and read something good this week. Bye for now.